But if there's one sector that denotes rising consumerism in India, it's the dairy sector. Post-demonetization, just about everyone's talking about not only how organized players will come in the picture stronger, but also how consumers are also looking at products like butter, cheese and ghee. Mubina joins in with her observations on the trends. Mubina?
Right, thanks Aisha for that. Well, even if one has to talk about a sector that, like you said, is echoing consumerism in India, it has to be the dairy sector. Now, why one should talk about the dairy sector in India? Well, for one, the signs have already been present. If you look at the last 20 odd years, since 1980, global milk output has been at about 1.5-ish odd %. But for India, the growth has significantly outpaced. In fact, it has come in at a good 4.5%. Now, let's understand what exactly the industry comprises. For the longest time, it was just plain old liquid milk, the traditional product. But of course, over the years, it has evolved. And how? Now we have traditional products like, pouch milk, skim milk, etc. We have the traditional value-added products. So there's curd, there's ghee, there's butter. And then there's the emerging value-added products. So that's cheese, that's whey protein. And understandably, as you transcend from the traditional products to the emerging value-added products, the margin, value goes, the return on equity goes higher for both of these cases, for all of these cases. The penetration as well in India is, of course, naturally higher for liquid milk and very low for emerging value-added products. So you can imagine the kind of penetration opportunity there is for all of the dairy players in India, for the organized dairy players in India, and of course, consequently, the margin expansion ability that there is for all of these dairy products. And not only that, if you look at the key players at this point of time, one of the key players, in the emerging value-added products is Parag milk. The cheese currently is, of course, apart from Amul, of course, does have the highest leadership, at least even if you look at it from a revenue contribution perspective. And it is going to be the emerging value-added products only that most analysts say will grow for the next 4 years. So for whey, which is, of course, a nutritional sports product, it's expected to grow 13%. Cheese is expected to have the highest growth of 32% over the next 4 years. Yogurt as well is expected to grow good 32%. So like I said, you can imagine the kind of margin expansion, possibility there is for all of these dairy products. Now, of course, let's talk about the leader out there, that's Amul. Interestingly, for now, their product mix is about 55% liquid milk and the remaining 45% coming from, butter, from ghee, from cheese, from flavored milk. And like I said, market leader Amul, if you'll say butter, and if you'll ask anybody, name me a butter brand, it's going to say Amul butter, and that's where their leadership lies. A good 80%. There's no one even at this point of time close to that sort of market leadership. For cheese as well, they're doing pretty well. Even for liquid milk, of course, like we know, 25 to 30 odd %. For cheese, they have 40%. For ice cream, they have 40%. And for ghee, they have 18%. But it would be interesting to note that there are some new entrants that are coming in. For example, Patanjali is coming very close now, and it's trying to come closer to Amul's 18% ghee market share that it does have. So maybe Amul should watch out, but of course, for now, it is the market leader, however, not undisputed.
Okay, and who better than the market leader themselves? Joining in at the show right now, R.S Sodhi, Managing Director at Amul, a brand just about all of us have been consumers of. Mr. Sodhi, such a pleasure having you today on the show. And, like my colleague was really setting stage for Amul as opposed to the rest of the industry peers as well, and the fact that there is heightened competition as opposed to what was the case perhaps even 7 years back right now in the industry. India's dairy per capita consumption has been growing very healthily. It's been outpacing growth seen in some of the developed markets like the European Union. But now with so much competition coming in the segment, would you say that there is still scope for penetration and higher consumption in India than the numbers that you're already clocking?
Well, thank you very much. Well, let me tell you that India is contributing about 20% of world production, around 167 million metric ton. And we are growing at the rate of 4.5%. World is growing at the rate of around 1.8%. So out of 1.8% growth, 1% is coming from India. Milk is India's largest crop, around 6.5 lakh crore. It is much more than paddy and wheat put together. Now coming to the consumption, you see, till 70s, per capita consumption was only 110 gram per person per day. Today it is 360 gram per person per day. And the way we are growing, another 50 years, our per capita consumption will be equal to the developed like US or Europe, around 800 gram per person per day, which is already there in India. Some parts like you go to northern Punjab, Haryana, it is more or less, consumption is around 800 gram per person per day. So now, as far as the growth is concerned, you see, whatever milk is there, 40% is retained at the producer level in the villages. 60% is surplus. Whatever is surplus, about one-third is coming to the organized sector, cooperative and private together, and two-thirds is going to the unorganized sector. So growth in organized sector is coming from two places. One is increase in consumption and people shifting from unorganized or loose to the organized sector. So I can say volume-wise, organized sector is growing at a double digit. So more or less all categories on an average 10 to 12%, 15% growth is coming. Some new categories like cheese, beverages, cream may be growing at 20, 30%, but the old category like butter, ghee, etc. may be growing at around 8 to 10%. So this is the, now coming to European Union, you see today, India's production of 160 million metric ton is equal to European 28 countries. But their milks are 20 to 25% lower than us. So as such, India has already Europe by 20 to 25%. And European milk production, and the way we are growing, 50% higher than them in another 6 to 7 years. So this is the overall picture of the dairy industry in India.
Okay, great to hear that. Those, of course, are the live visuals coming in from a victorious Narendra Modi just about entering the parliament. We will cut across if he does give a bite on the recent election win. But Mr. Sodhi, you know, just trying to understand the point that you raised about the shift from unorganized to organized players. Amul has been the oldest organized player in the industry. How do you think there will be that reduction in organized players going forward? And how will Amul strive to gain a higher market share at a time when competition from some of the other new players is only intensifying?
You see, in dairy industry, business depends on how much milk you collect from the farmers. Amul is collecting on average more than 20 million liters of milk per day. Next player to Amul is the another cooperative called Nandini, which is collecting around 7 million liters. And if you see the private sector, there is no private sector who is collecting more than 1.5 million liters or 2 million, except one is 2.5. So private sector nearest competitor in the south is on an average 1/10 of us. So as such, you leave aside private sector is much behind Amul. In cooperative sector, if you go in each state, the local cooperative is the market leader. You go to Karnataka, Nandini is number 1. You go to Tamil Nadu, Amin is number 1. You go to Rajasthan, Saras is number 1. And you go to Punjab, Verka is number 1. Amul may be number 1 all over pan India. So as such, still in India, organized market is in the hands of cooperatives only, and their market share is growing. I mean, you were talking about ghee and other things. You see, ghee is, or cheese. Let's take cheese. Cheese in overall category even does not take 1% of the milk. So cheese as such is still is a very small category in the overall dairy basket. Because milk is number 1, then comes ghee, then comes butter, then comes baby food, beverages, curd, dahi, etc. All these are much bigger product segment than the cheese as such. And growth is coming in all the segments.
Which are the liquid milk categories where you think that the projected growth could be 20% plus for next 2 to 3 years? Will it be cheese? Will it be butter? Or will it be something else?
Because of the lower base of the like teas or the beverages or the ice creams, their naturally growth rate will be much higher than the liquid milk because the base is much higher. But let me tell you, any Indian household, if you want to enter a dairy segment, any house in your home also, the maximum consumption of any dairy product is first is milk, then comes the dahi, ghee, then the other category. So if you have to be the market leader in India like Amul or any other cooperatives, unless you are market leader in the particular category in milk, you cannot get the major market share in other products, or it will not be commercially viable also getting into cheese or ice cream or other thing without getting into milk or other fresh products. And let me also tell you, there is a myth, and that myth may be because of stock exchange and Sensex. The people want to see that only value-added products give more margin, and value addition means only cheese and ice cream. That is the biggest myth. In dairy sector, biggest value-added product is the fresh pasteurized milk pack, which is sold to the consumer directly. So there's mill inventory random day, you buy milk, you process it, you pack it and sell it, and then by evening money is in your pocket. So milk is the biggest value-added products, and like that is other value-added products like curd is there, or the buttermilk is there, or the milk powders and dairy whiteners and baby food. They are much bigger category than the so-called cheese or ice cream categories.
Could you crystallize for us where exactly are milk prices headed in 2018? Because milk prices in 2017 were quite firm, and if milk prices are headed higher, are you in a position to increase your product prices?
Well, let me tell you, the milk prices the world over peak in 2014 May. After that, prices started falling, especially for commodity world over. And the impact was also felt in India, where cooperatives were not strong. And in 2017 also, prices were much lower than the price which were there in 2014 or 15. No doubt it was slightly above than the 2016. And whatever prevailing price today, in the areas where cooperatives are not stronger, their farmers are under distress. They are not even getting the cost of production. You take example of Maharashtra. Maharashtra farmers are getting 14, 15, around 27, 28 rupees for the cow milk, which reduced to 17, 18 rupees in the 2016. Then in 217 increased to another around 22, 23. And today also farmers in Maharashtra are getting only 21 to 22 rupees a cow milk, vis-a-vis Gujarat, where every year there is an increase in price. Today farmer in Gujarat is getting a cow milk around 30 to 32 rupees. So because we have not reduced price of any finished product, whether it is a butter, cheese or ghee, we have rather increased. So naturally farmers who are attached to the cooperative are getting better price. But coming year, 2018 and 19 will be difficult for the players who are sourcing milk like Maharashtra or the northern, where today prices are lower, because where farmers are getting 21 to 22 rupees price, which is lower than the cost of production, they will not invest further. They will not buy more cattle or feed well. So their milk production is going to reduce in the coming year, 1 or 2 years. So naturally price will increase. So what I feel is today is the bottom. Day by day price for the milk is going to increase, especially in the places like Maharashtra or the northern states like Punjab, Haryana, UP and Madhya Pradesh.
Tell me, Mr. Sodhi, what are the newer categories of products that Amul is looking to launch and focus on now going forward?
You see, Amul, always our first focus is always on fresh pasteurized milk, because that is the biggest revenue share in our whole turnover, and consumer also buy. So what we are going to add is more territories. Amul milk is number one besides Gujarat in all the metro like Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, then other cities like Kanpur, Lucknow, Pune, Nagpur, etc. And we have recently added Northeast, like we have got to Guwahati also, Siliguri also. So in coming times, we want to add new territories like Jharkhand, Odisha, or some other territories, Uttar Pradesh like Gorakhpur, etc., and also in Madhya Pradesh. So geographically, we expanded as far as fresh milk. When I say fresh milk means along with fresh milk, there are other fresh products like curd, buttermilk, and paneer. All these fresh products will expand in our these territory. But coming to the other, your so-called value-added products, what I think is we are putting a lot of stress on beverages. That is flavored milk, coffee drink, chocolate drinks. These are the drinks which are going to be, and lassi and buttermilk in long shelf life products. So that is where we are expanding a lot. Then also we are expanding a lot in cheese. Cheese, we had about 2 years back, we had expanded our capacity 3 times. And now I think more or less we are going to meet that requirement. So we are doubling again our capacity. So from 3,000 to 6,000 metric ton. We had only 2 years back only 1,000 ton capacity per month. Now we got 3,000 and another 2 years it will be 6,000. 6 times multiplication as far as cheese is concerned in 4 or 5 years. So similarly we are also adding more capacity in paneer in all the places also. And no doubt in milk powders you have to add because then when you get more milk, especially during winter, you have to convert into the milk and the butter and the ghee. In ghee also we are expanding and with the so-called new brands coming, Patanjali, where people started consuming more of ghee, we also increase our market share as well as volume. Our volume increased by last 2 years by more than 30%. And let me also clarify, Amul sale of ghee is more than 3 times what the brand you mentioned. So I don't know what markets you are talking, but we know the volumes of everybody. So we know our volumes are 3 to 4 times more than the next brand in the market.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you have a tremendous, first mover advantage as well in that sense. Just to put it into perspective and, get it on record for our viewers, would you say that MSP in milk, that's the minimum support price, considering the industry has been lobbying for it, would it ever see the light of day? Would it ever be a reality for milk in particular?
You see, let me tell you, MSP in other agriculture producers recommended. First of all, we like to recommend that dairy or milk should be considered as agriculture crop. So all the benefits which are going to the cultivator, like crop loan, all the benefits on the under priority sector, you get some interest benefits. So wherever you say agriculture, milk or dairy should be included everywhere. That is what. But actually we are not favor of MSP. You see, MSP means you want to give subsidy day after day, year after year, which I feel is not good for the sector. Because then you don't know, I mean, you take example of agriculture crop, because MSP is there on wheat and paddy, everybody is growing that. And we are importing pulses and oilseed where farmers can get a better realization. So what I feel is, no, we don't want MSP, but what we recommend is some buffer stocking. You see, today when all over world there is a decline in the commodity prices, this is the time where some agency has to buy the extra milk solids lying in the market, milk powder, white butter, and stock it so the price paid to the farmer is not reduced, and then release the so buffer stocking we recommend as well as.
Okay, Mr. Sodhi. Thanks so much for taking the time out and giving us an in-depth analysis of which way not just the dairy sector but some of the other industries are also heading and how this competition in the sector leaves Amul, the first and, the leader in this space, really absolutely unfazed, and how this entire shift from the unorganized to the organized market is taking place, and Amul clearly remains to be the leader.